Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Topher Drives, where this morning we have another road trip for you. In this, the 2025 Subaru WRX TS. It is time for our fall track day at Gingerman, and this is one of the cars that we will be taking out to the track. So a 4-hour round trip with some track time in the middle, similar to what we did in the BMW X6M competition. Now, I don't have Emily with me today, but I do have my buddy Sean from Illinois, Kaufman Mayer. I've driven a bunch of his cars over the years, and I suppose we'll call you Substitute Emily today,
Great.
Something like that, but I don't know. You can try and fill the void. But anyways, let's talk about what we have here in front of us. So I actually didn't even know that this car existed until a few days ago. I thought that the WRX TR was the only special edition, but this is the TS, standing for Tuned by STI. Pretty similar to the TR. In fact, we have the same exact wheels that we got on that car, but we have some different colors, and most notably, we have adaptive dampers like we saw in the WRX GT. That was the CVT only top trim car. So you now have adjustable dampers in this car, and we have a fully electronic gauge cluster that says STI on it. And all of us kind of just said, why didn't they just call it a WRX STI?
That's exactly what I said.
But the main reason for that is because the powertrain is unchanged. It still has the same 2.4 liter boxer 4-cylinder, turbocharged of course, that you get in just the plain Jane WRX. 271 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque. This luckily has a 6-speed manual, unlike the GT, and it is all-wheel drive. I don't know that they're ever going to make an STI, but as for 2025, this is the closest thing that we have. This is finished in Galaxy Purple, and funny enough, the last car we took to the track day in spring was also purple. Or actually, technically it was velvet blue, but it was still pretty purple. So pretty killer spec on this. We have special Recaro seats in this car, which will be a fun test for the road trip to see how comfortable these are. They're very much supportive. They've got very, very defined and strong bolsters. WRX TS print on the headrests, but I just love the blue on purple. I think it's a good look.
Honestly, really nice seats. If I have anything to say about this car so far in the 10 miles we've gone.
Yeah.
Nice seats.
And I'm not too worried about you in the seat because you drove your Cayman GT4 out to the last track day with the carbon buckets.
Yep.
So Sean will be fine. So let's poke around. Let's take a look at some road trip essentials. And then we are actually meeting up at the Topher's house to roll out as a 4 to the track with the Civic Type R, the S2000, the 6-speed manual BMW Z4, and this Subaru. So we'll take a look in the trunk. We're really not like using it for much right now. I've got my camera bag in here, and Sean has his Porsche vest that's taking up a good corner of the trunk. Under here, we have a little cubby that we're using for some beverages, and we've got a couple other places. There's a toolkit and stuff, but no spare tire here in the WRX TS. Not that anything now has a spare tire, but worth noting. Quad tips, special little black lip spoiler on here. It's all just little things that we've kind of seen Subaru doing. They've been playing around with the BRZ, the WRX, having some special editions over the last couple of years. And, well, this is, I would say, probably the best work they've done because it kind of combines all the things that they've already done with this newest generation car. For tires, we have Bridgestone Potenza S007s and a 245/35 R19 squared setup, and we have Brembo brakes, 6-piston on the front, 2-piston on the rear, but they're gold, as a proper STI brake should be. So I was halfway expecting this to show up in the World Rally Blue, but I think I enjoy the Galaxy Purple. Yeah, it looks nice. Okay, we'll show you the back seat. It is full of helmets, so I won't really be able to show you leg room. Actually, you know what? I'll move my lunchbox and we'll be able to show you what's going on back here. We've got a couple USB ports, one USB-C, one USB-A. Headroom and legroom actually super nice. Sat behind myself at 5'11". I think you could comfortably road trip this with 3 passengers. I would say 4, but I don't know that you'd be able to fit luggage for 4 people in this thing. And you could kind of use this other seat back here as a shelf. Fold down armrest with cup holders, no vents or anything like that, but lots of beautiful blue trimming, carbon fiber, really cool dimension in this interior. Suede on the seats, perforated, everything looks great. So we'll pop the hood, show you the engine, and then we'll jump in and get on the road. Surprisingly, we're actually not running late, so we don't have to hurry, but I'll show you this 2.4 liter. Wow, and it's got hood struts. It's my first time opening this. Top mount intercooler, all the normal Subaru stuff here, Boxer 4, And unfortunately, we don't get a unique exhaust or anything with this car, so it is still remarkably quiet. You'll hear that once we get out onto the road. I have kind of always liked the way that these new WRXs drive. Ever since I drove the base model car probably 2 years ago, I was a big fan of the manual transmission setup, everything like that. So this new car, it's a 2025. We actually don't have pricing for this yet. If you were to guess, how much would you say this car is? I have a rough estimate.
Cars are so expensive anymore. I mean, what would this be, 50?
Close. So the base WRX starts at $33,000. This is going to be $10,000 plus more than that.
Okay. So after taxes.
After taxes, estimate is like 45 grand. So after tax, I mean, yeah, you're pushing $50,000,
Well,
which is.
Let's see if it's worth it.
Let's see. I mean, it's a little hard to swallow considering the powertrain, exhaust, everything's the exact same. But the biggest thing here is going to be the adaptive dampers. We'll see how those perform long distance on the highway, and then these Recaro seats. So, all right. Well, I don't really think there's anything else to show you guys on the outside. So,
I must say,
unless you want to add something.
It is a cold morning, and they're heated Recaro seats.
That
the
is a good
GT4
point.
doesn't have that.
Ah, the seat. That's a good point. Yeah, heated seat buttons, which are in the infotainment. So hopefully that continues to work for us. Let's get everything set up. You've actually made this very nice back here. Thank you.
Do you want your water?
Starting the morning like a true racing driver.
Yeah.
An energy drink.
I gotta fake it till I make it.
Yeah, right.
Well, you know what? That's a good idea. I didn't realize there were so many cup holders. I'm gonna put my water.
Yeah, put your other one up here. I'll give you a cold start while you're back there.
Okay.
Actually, more like a warm start. Also, Sean generally comes with a radar detector, so we have that with us today. First time I've ever had a radar detector in one of my videos.
It is the best radar detector on the market. Rip Mike Valentine.
That's right, he just passed.
He did.
Very sad. Not sponsored, but I don't mind shouting it out as he is late.
Yep.
So, every TS is a slick top, so we're weighing in somewhere around 3,400 pounds, which isn't too bad considering the all-wheel drive system and everything in this WRX TS. I just love all the blue accenting that carries up here. I like the Alcantara on the dash. I'm a big fan of bright interiors, so I like the blue trimming on the door panels and everything. The center console is just bright blue. It's actually got a pretty good amount of room and another 12 volt or whatever they call that. 2 cup holders in the middle, cup holder in each door panel. There's a cubby here to put your phone. We've got wireless Apple CarPlay on this huge vertical infotainment screen. Unfortunately, a lot of our other controls also exist in this big vertical infotainment screen. I've never been a big fan of this infotainment. I mean, you can see how slow it is to react. I would say for 2025, this is pretty unacceptable. And the only other company that makes an infotainment worse than this is Ford.
Oh.
So, yeah, this is not. At least it has wireless CarPlay, so that's easy to do, and it still has a volume knob, so we'll give them credit for that as well. So, all right, well, we'll hit the road. We'll give you some super brief first impressions, and then we'll cut back in once we've met up with the Topher and everybody, and we are on the highway headed out to Gingerman. I'll show you this backup camera. That's not a super high quality backup camera, but it does at least the lines move with the steering wheel, help you guide yourself into a spot.
I think having a physical parking brake is a win for this car.
I'm glad you brought that up because I meant to say that earlier. I love any manual transmission that still has a physical parking brake. I suppose it is in proper form to have a monster and a radar detector as we are in a WRX.
Just missing the...
Thank you for that. Yeah, that is true. So, said earlier, I've always been a big fan of this 6-speed in Subarus. I mean, the BRZ and the WRX, I think, have some of the best shifters in the game, and my opinion stays that way here in the TS. And it's overall a really easy manual transmission vehicle to drive. Pretty defined bite point with the clutch. It is a light pedal feel overall, but it's a nice car to drive, and it's something that I hate to say this, but you don't really expect with a car like this, and it is just a really, really nice driver's car. You don't really get a ton of noise or drama from that Boxer. In some ways that's okay. I mean, you kind of have to have your exhaust system figured out perfectly, in my opinion, to make a Subaru sound good, especially a new Subaru. quick enough. I mean, it doesn't feel terribly quick, but I think it'll be good for the track.
And the sound's not bad, but it is pedestrian.
Absolutely. I remember saying when I had a 2022 a couple of years ago, and I used to have to watch the cluster to know when to shift because the car was so quiet that I if I was listening to music or something, I simply could not hear the engine. So, speaking of cluster though, I guess I didn't show this off yet. This is exclusive to the TS. We have an STI themed digital gauge cluster, which I think looks nice. We have our tire pressure down there on the bottom left.
Is this a trip reset button a Subaru characteristic that I'm not familiar with?
I think it is, yeah, because I don't recall seeing it in anything else.
It's kind of comical.
So, yeah, maybe we'll actually... Let's reset. Actually, we'll leave trip B. We'll reset trip A because I do want to track our fuel economy here on this trip. Let's see what we end up doing. Geez, there's a lot of controls on the steering wheel. I don't really know how anything works.
You know, there are a lot of buttons on that steering wheel, but it's an attractive steering wheel.
It is very, very pretty. Blue stitching, flat bottom, carbon fiber. Only thing I will say, seating position is very high.
Yep.
You made a comment earlier about desiring to lower your seat, and I said, yes, I would like to lower mine too, but mine is all the way down. I do have a height adjust on mine, but mine in the lowest setting is yours in its standard setting, so we are in the same kind of situation right now. Your head is almost touching the ceiling.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. You've got a few inches. The car's yelling at me to keep my eyes on the road. This does have advanced eyesight. So does the radar detector.
Yeah, I honestly wonder if your camera is...
Is my camera setting it off?
It could be.
We have I think a TomTom. Yep, it is. A built-in navigation system by TomTom. We will not be using this today. We'll just use our Apple CarPlay, or we'll use Waze as well in parallel with this. Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. Well, we're going to make the rest of the trek to meet up with everyone else, and we'll update you once we have spent a little more time in the WRX is always a tongue twister. I always say WRX.
I promise you guys, he's college educated.
How would you know that?
I think that I might have seen you in class before when you weren't sleeping in.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, right. Well, I've gotten better at that now.
Yeah,
there's a good car for you.
It should make no noise.
All right, we're getting settled into the WRX TS here on the highway. We're rolling in a pack with a C7 Z06, the TheTopher, and the Z4 M40i, and then our buddy Stu towing the TheTopher's S2000 there with his Lincoln Navigator. So, and then the Civic Type R is somewhere behind us. But wanted to give you guys some initial impressions here on the Subaru, and I think firstly we should talk about these seats, because we mentioned earlier that yes, they do sit a little bit high up, and we were thinking maybe for the track that might not be so good because we're going to have helmets on and we may be forced to kind of move seat backs back and things like that. But you made a point earlier about how you kind of sit in the seat instead of on it, which is a good thing for a car like this. I mean, not only for road tripping, but also on track, staying supported and whatnot.
You know, normal characteristic of Recaro, it's a well-designed seat. It holds you. You know, it's almost like you feel like you could be stuck in the seat whether or not you have your belt on. And I don't mean that because I'm implying you should have your belt off.
Right.
But seats 20 years ago you sat on them.
Yeah.
You sit in this seat. And it's comfortable. Yes, my head is nearly at the headliner, but I'm tall.
Yeah.
And it's a nice place to be in this car, and partially because of the seats. It's not going to be for everybody.
I would agree.
James May wouldn't like it.
Sure. I was just going to say, I'm excited to sit in this for 2 hours because this is one of those seats where you could argue that possibly because it's so supportive, it could be comfortable. Also, it's heated, so that can help with discomfort as well.
Very helpful.
But it's feeling a little stiff, and most notably, there's no lumbar adjustment whatsoever. Definitely not on your side, but not on my side either. So, worth noting if you're going to be sitting in this for a couple of hours. Otherwise, though, everything seems to be quite all right. Visibility out of this thing is really nice. You can see everything out of the rearview mirror just fine. We'll have to try out the Subaru Advanced Eyesight. We'll actually try that out right now. This is a system that you can only use while cruise control is active. You cannot use the steering assist if you don't have cruise control on, which I don't really like. I think you should just really be able to use it anytime you want. But we can toggle this on, set our cruise control. This is obviously adaptive, so it's going to lock onto the back of this Z4. We have steering assist, which should take this corner. I hope it's unhappy with me. Let's see if it figures itself out here on a straightaway. It's always a little unnerving when you're next to a concrete barrier letting a car steer for you. But I don't think I trust this one, actually. I'm gonna make the executive decision to not trust this steering assist. In 6th gear, revved 74 miles an hour. We are just below 3,000 RPM. Looks like 2750 MPG rating of this car, 26 highway, something like that. So definitely not the most efficient 4-cylinder hot compact, with the Civic Si pushing 40 MPG. It's usually at this point in the video Emily starts to feed me something. So have you provided any snacks for us today?
I have.
You have?
But I'm not going to be feeding you.
Emily just works today. She'll be in the next road trip. As far as NVH, it's a little noisy in here. These Bridgestone S007s, they do have a little bit of wear on them. They've turned a bit blue because this car has been tracked. It's only got 1,100 miles on it. But I suspect a certain magazine outlet that rhymes with Dar and Criver has probably taken this out on the track and, you know, put it through its paces. So it has, the tires have seen some heat cycling. But even with that being said, I mean, I wouldn't say the noise level in here is unacceptable, would you?
No.
It's definitely not quiet.
It's a nice place to be a passenger.
That's good. Like I said, that's, oh, you know what? Let's talk about the ride. Because this is kind of the biggest thing with the TS. The biggest difference coming from the TR is that we finally get these adaptive dampers. And I think they do a great job. Obviously, we have a larger wheel on this car with a low profile tire. And you do get a little bit of that kind of crashy intrusion over expansion joints in the road. But the actual damping is really nice. So we have drive modes in this car, which we can switch from the steering wheel. Sport, Sport Plus, Individual, Comfort. Actually, let's ride in Comfort mode. I think we were in Sport. Oh wow, that is remarkably soft in Comfort mode. I can tell already just going over some of these imperfections.
So you adjust it from the steering wheel, but it comes up on the center screen.
It does, yeah, and then it kills CarPlay? Why would it kill CarPlay there? That's weird. We also have an individual, I think I already said that, we have individual and normal drive modes as well. But the car defaults to sport mode every time you start it. So if you want to be into comfort, you've got to hit this mode button every time.
And what is the difference with Sport Plus, do we know?
Sport Plus will sharpen up throttle response just a bit more and adjust suspension, adjust the damping. Yeah. So each mode is a little bit unique. But what I like is you can set your own individual mode, which I have done. Steering and suspension and comfort, eyesight and dynamic, so it's not constantly beeping at you, and then engine and sport, or as Subaru calls it, the power unit.
Nice.
So, but then it kicks you out of CarPlay. Why would you want it to do that?
Like so many other sporty manual transmissions, rev match when you downshift.
It does not.
Interesting.
And there are no manual Subarus that do. This you have to.
And I have no problem with that.
Spoiling our fuel economy. But it's so quiet. You can't even hear it. Ergonomically in here, I'm a little bit disappointed by not having a place to place my right arm. The center console is really far back and it doesn't adjust or anything. It doesn't move forwards. I do have a spot to, of course, rest my left elbow on the door panel, and it is decently squishy, but it's hard to kind of set yourself up in this car to rest both elbows and drive, you know, maybe with your hands down here or something. Rest your arms at your side, but you don't have anywhere to put left elbow. I think that's probably just because with this being a manual transmission, with where this shifter is positioned, they don't want you slamming your elbow into a center console, which I understand. We, today, since we reset the trip, have been averaging 27.1 mpg, which is really not bad for this car. I'm gonna assume it's gonna go up slightly because we're just gonna be up more highway miles here. We may see 28, maybe even 29. I don't think we'll touch 30, but we'll keep track of this. We won't reset it once we do some track laps. We'll literally go out, do our track laps. Sean won't be with us for the second half because he's going back home to Illinois. and then on the way back, and we'll see what we do from the whole day. Cool. All right. Well, we're going to eat up some more miles here on the highway, and we'll give you guys some updated impressions here once we've sat in this Subaru for just a bit longer.
When he comes, here's the front door slam.
Coming in for one last update for you guys before we arrive to the track. Just a couple more impressions. For one, if you want to run a radar detector, you've got to run it up top, because either the eyesight or the eye tracker in here, or the radar or the eyesight sets it off constantly. So we found that the only solution is to run it super high up. So something to keep in mind if you are a WRX owner that enjoys driving spiritedly on the highway. And then also, I think the biggest surprise for me is how we aren't fatigued by these seats. It's really surprising.
Yep, I think both the suspension and the seat combine for a fairly soft ride.
Yeah.
For as sporty as both the suspension and the seats are, it's been comfortable.
Yeah, surprising. When I sat in this car yesterday, when I picked it up, I was like, oh man, this is gonna suck. But it really hasn't. It's been a great experience, and the heating element has helped. And also, Sean's run his heated seat the entire time we've been on the road, and this car, it doesn't taper the heated seat down from 3 to 2 to 1. It leaves it on full blast the whole time. So that may be nice for some people. Yeah, I don't know. Hasn't been an issue at all. So, and overall, this car's done a great job. I'm surprised. An MPG update, 28.8 MPG, and we were cruising at about 80 miles an hour the whole way, allegedly. Still got 220 miles of range to go, over half a tank. We've been sitting in this car now for over 2 hours. So we got 9 minutes till our fuel stop. We'll fill this thing up with some fresh 93, and then we'll hit the track. But I don't know that I've got anything else to add.
Yeah, it's just a nice place to be. And, Chris and I both have been in some very nice cars.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like a tin can.
No.
This is a comfortable, it is a sporty, and I don't dare say luxurious, but it's a nice car. It's a nice place to be.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because build quality also seems to be really nice. There aren't any rattles or anything in here. Everything feels really tight. I mean, granted, it's only got 1,200 miles on it.
Those items that are plastic are nice.
Yeah.
It's not rental car spec.
Definitely not. And there are Subarus that absolutely are, but the trimmings in here, they do feel quite proper. I wish that they would. Honestly, I think the only thing that this car needs is a completely new infotainment system. I think that is the biggest flaw in any Subaru, but especially this car that is so good. So far, it seems. I mean, we'll judge that fully when we're on the track, but as far as a street car, it seems great. So it's disappointing that we still have this crappy infotainment from 3-4 years ago in here that really hasn't seemed to improved much at all. For those of you that don't know, I did actually go to college. We went to college. Should have said that first. That's where we met.
That's right.
But I went to college.
And
I don't use the degree.
It's true.
But Sean, you kind of use your degree.
I sort of use my degree. Yeah.
And you guys have seen I've been down to Sean's shop in Illinois. We've driven a number of awesome things, including a manual BMW E38, which Sean cringes that's my favorite thing that I've driven from him.
It's
But right.
example.
That was over on the TheTopher channel. But it's just been,
There are more unique vehicles to come in this friendship.
Yes.
My wife just texted me and reminded me to make my fantasy league picks for NASCAR.
Oh, I thought you were going to say football or basketball or something. I was going to say, who am I friends with?
Good motorsports loving wife.
Less excited to get fuel, more excited to pee in this situation. It's going to be hard to get out of the car, I think. It's to that point.
Well,
okay. Does this have tap to pay? No. Okay. Ow. Oh. Oof. I have to pee so bad. I'm gonna go in and do that right now. Okay, premium recommended, not required, but obviously we're gonna fill this thing with some 93. Oh, card's swiped, it's ready to go. Well, I'll do it actually. I'll do it because I'm filming. Thank you.
Sorry,
No, that's gonna save me from getting the comments of people saying, "Why do you hit it with the nozzle?"
that's the only thing I do anymore.
Because of me?
Since you told me
Oh
that,
no,
that's all I ever do
I'm
anymore.
influencing people to do that.
You are bad
Oh
at-
shoot.
Get ready for your show. The places, yeah.
All right, guys, we're out here on the track in the WRX TS. It's a little bit later in the day. Got a little bit more heat in these tires. This thing really does feel fantastic out here. It does feel a bit slow after driving the BMW Z4 M40i, but I'll tell you what, I'm having an excellent time out here in this TS. I do wish that we had an auto rev matching system that would make things a bit easier, but you know, sometimes having to work for it is fun. So I'm engaged with this car. I love this shifter, I love the brakes, really good bite. Not to mention, these Recaro seats keep you held in so well. Coming up here on Moccasin Driver in the AP2 S2000. We'll stick behind him here through the S's. Wait till we have a safe spot to pass. Top of fourth gear, 106 miles an hour. It's kind of the top that I'm doing on the back straight, just because it's not worth it to shift into fifth gear for an extra 5 miles an hour. Being a little gentle with this gearbox, since I'm doing stuff myself. Just want to make sure we're not causing any unnecessary wear. A little bit understeer, pushing there slightly. That was just a bad line on my part. STI dampers do a fantastic job. I mean, this car feels so balanced out here. It really does feel at home on the track, and it's a testament to the kind of STI hands that have been on this car. The tuning, that didn't sound right. the tuning that's been done to this car, they've done a great job. So kudos to Subaru, but come on, give us more. Give us a true STI. Give us something with like 350 horsepower and, you know, all this sort of adaptive suspension and everything, but just with a little bit more power. That's what I would like to see. And off the limiter in fourth, it's honestly perfect because it gets you right into the beginning of the braking zone there. Drop into third. Oh yeah. I'm almost tempted to say this is a little bit of a slow car fast moment, because 3,400 pound car with 270 horsepower, I certainly wouldn't classify that as fast, but it's really, really engaging. And that's what I've always loved about this newest WRX, is that from the outside, you know, with the cladding and everything, it doesn't really look like it would be a driver's car, but then you get into it, even a base model, it doesn't have to be the TS, and it's so much fun to drive. I just always feel like we're missing a little bit of drama from this 2.4 liter, and the exhaust is really quiet. So there are things I would change, but as it is, it's a really nice package. Another successful track day at Gingerman, and it's time to track home in the WRX TS. Sean was picked up by his wife and is headed back down to Peoria, Illinois, so we're gonna rip solo. Pretty happy with how this TS performed on the track as well. Get my brain recalibrated here. Drove like 4 different manual cars today, so get myself together. Still love this shifter. Curious to see how these S009s perform in the rain, especially now that they have been on the track a little bit, but we should be okay. We'll take it nice and easy on the way home. Let's also put this back into our individual mode, put our suspension back into comfort. Eyesight and dynamic, power unit and sport, steering comfort. MPG was 29 when we pulled into the track. Initially, that was about what it peaked at. We had our boost gauge up for the track. MPG has dropped down to 16, or actually, sorry, no, 18. Okay, dropped down to 18. So we'll have to see what our end MPG readout is. Cool, guys. Well, we're going to stop, get some fuel, hit the highway again, and I'll just give you one more update towards the end with some final thoughts here on this WRX TS. You joined me with about 45 minutes left in the trip, and I figured that I've pretty much gathered all my thoughts at this point, so we'll go ahead and wrap the video. But first, I want to give you guys a chance to listen to this Harman Kardon sound system. So we're going to go ahead and do a sound system test, and then I will wrap up and give you my final thoughts on the purple Subaru. Got a volume adjuster here on the steering wheel, as well as a physical knob above our temperature controls here for the climate control. And I gotta say, I mean, Subaru's really been stepping it up. This is pretty consistent with the last few model years of these Harman Kardon systems in previous WRXs, Outbacks. Everything I've heard has honestly been pretty dang good. I didn't really think Subaru used to have good sound system, and their base sound systems are not that great, but this one does the job. I would say that it does just fine for the segment. But speaking of this segment, we should probably bring up a couple of elephants in the room here with this WRX TS. Now, I know we don't have official pricing, but if it's anything like the TR, it's probably going to be even a bit more expensive than that. So we can estimate somewhere around $44,000, $45,000, $46,000 for this car. I mean, we're pushing 50 grand for a car that isn't even technically an STI. So it is a bit expensive, especially when cars like the Honda Civic Type R, the Elantra N, even the Civic Si, I mean, it's got like 70 horsepower less than this, but I would say that it still fits into the segment. There are a lot of other cars, and Golf R as well. Golf R is all-wheel drive, so I would say that compares the most to this car, that do kind of slot below it in price. And you really have to be, I think, a Subaru enthusiast to fully appreciate this car in TS form, because the WRX alone, I mean, in base model form, is still an excellent car. And the TheTopher and I kind of talked about this while we were out on the track. If you're going to be somebody that's tracking your car on the weekends, you'd probably want to go for this. The STI dampers make your whole experience just that much nicer for street and track use. But I just don't know that this is $10,000 worth of stuff. Wheels, brakes, seats, and suspension. I guess, you know, that stuff adds up, but with there being no changes to the powertrain or the exhaust or anything, I mean, I wish they would have at least put like a different exhaust on this car or something, just to make it sound a little bit rowdier. So it's a great car. I've enjoyed it today. It's been great on the road trip. I'm just shocked by how supportive these Recaro seats have been, and ergonomically the car has really been just fine for spending, at this point I've spent 4 hours in it, so it's been good. I wish they gave us more with the TS package. We're almost there. We're almost to the STI, and I hope maybe someday they actually make an STI. We can only hope, but at this point, this is the closest thing you can get to it. I like the specialness of the car. I like the different colors you can get. I love the obnoxious blue interior, and I'm always one to love a good special edition car. So it's cool that it exists. I just think that it's a bit expensive for what it is, and if they want to charge 45 grand, they should give us just a little bit more. But to sit in as a daily driver, it's fantastic. STI dampers do a great job on the street and on the track. I feel like I'm just saying the same thing over and over, but you should know that it's a good car to drive, and I think you'd be quite happy with it if you're weighing other options in the segment. So on that, that's going to wrap it up for us today in our kind of abbreviated road trip here in the Subaru WRX TS for 2025. This is kind of a future car. It's kind of cool to drive, especially since they don't even have pricing for this thing yet. I feel like I've kind of got some early access. So I hope you guys enjoyed the time we spent here together in the TS. If you have any questions about it, leave those in the comments, but that will wrap it up for us today. Thank you again all so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Take care.